Forgive me, I understand what I'm about to say is rather controversial, but some days, when I think about the sound of America, I don't primarily think of Springsteen or Lamar or Guthrie or Beyonce. I think of Noah Kahan's All My Love, off of his career-defining 2022 release, Stick Season. Hold on, bro, ignore that beep, you bitch-ass nigga, I swear to God. Understand something, I don't mean the sound of America in a general sense. I know Noah Kahan is an artist with a fraction of the ethos and symbolism those other artists have. When I say the sound of America, this is what I mean. As a child, I would visit America on some summers. I'd enter the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Lagos, climb into a long metallic tube, and then reappear in Hartsfield Jackson. A taxi would take us out of the airport, and there would be skyscrapers rising on either side of me, crowding out the sky like trees, and a whole new world would burst forth. For me, back then, America represented newness, or a sort of limbo maybe. I'd leave Nigeria and everything back home would freeze and disappear. I'd come to this land with its abundance, its excess, in fast food, in attractions, in fast Wi-Fi, hell, in paved roads. America used to glisten like it was made of glass, like it was one of those Atlanta skyscrapers guiding us along the highway. And yet, despite it all, there was always a melancholy beneath that luster. The good kind of melancholy, but melancholy nonetheless. Ibadan, my city, and all 7 of its hills was still home. So over time, I longed for Ibadan. Look, even in his generation of singers, Kahan isn't the best chronicler of America. Come on, Zach Bryan's American Nights, Drumming Bird's American Spirits, Days Getting Darker by Ken Pomeroy, The Devil Indeed is Hiding in the Bible Belt. There are songs and artists that paint a better portrait of the US as it is, in all its pride, in all its shame. But look at the pivotal line in All My Love. It's all okay, there's not a drop of bad blood, you've got all my love, Kahan sings. And something about that strikes the perfect balance of melancholy and tenderness. Because to me, the sound of America is the sound of me leaving it. It's me on that cold plane, looking out the dark window and wishing it the best as I head home. That's what All My Love sounds like to me. That's what all of Noah Kahan's Stick Season sounds like to me. Songs like Paul Revere, You're Gonna Go Far, The View Between Villages, particularly the extended version, paint a picture of longing, of tiny people in tiny towns, always leaving, always begging internally to return. Stick Season probably won't go down as a modern classic or anything, but it paints such a believable world. It's like looking at Google Earth. You can swipe and swipe and swipe and zoom and zoom and zoom until you can see it, your town, your neighborhood, your house maybe. I didn't live in New England. I've never even been to Boston. The weather I was raised in is the exact opposite of the place Kahan is describing. But still, there I am. Sync up here. I know it's wrong. I know drawing easy parallels is an amateur's move, but I can't help it. I like connecting dots whenever I can. I've called Asha the Nigerian Bob Dylan, I've called Tiwa Savage our Beyonce, and whenever I listen to Rema's 2024 tour de force he is, I think about Travis Scott. Astroworld is a modern classic. I don't need to tell you that. Named after a now dead Six Flags park in Scott's hometown of Houston, Astroworld is, for a lack of a better word, scenic. Not necessarily in its writing. Travis Scott has some good lines here and there, but he's never really been a poet. No, Scott is a curator. As opposed to Stick Season, it's the sound of Astroworld that takes you places. I'm really oh my god. We're straight. I'm really fond of Jordan Bassett's closing remarks in his review. He said, "This is the sound of a musician who has worked to forge an entire world, an empire around himself. We can peer in, but from afar, guessing at his motives and life behind the velvet rope." Like I said before, Noah Kahan's world building in Stick Season is based off of the sheer relatability of his writing. He crafts a space reminiscent of something like Frederick Backman's Beartown or, I don't know, season 1 of Riverdale. There's a sense of quiet desperation, of eye sockets peering out into a cold, uncaring world. For Astroworld, the world is purposefully nebulous. It's the oral equivalent AURAL, freaky ass, of trying to find those skeletons in your closet after overestimating your tolerance for edibles. Songs like Stargazing and Stop Trying to Be God and 5% Tint, with their unprecedented beat switches, relentless kineticism, glittery melancholy accented by psychedelic weightlessness. For God's sake, it's a house party at 2 a.m. and somehow it's been 2 a.m. for several hours. Eternal life, or at least the droopy-eyed promise of eternal life, trapped forever in a bottle. You can peer in, but the closer you lean in, the more your breath fogs up the glass. Rema. I wasn't always big on him. I mean, I liked him. I discovered him through his Great Colors performance, and I liked Calm Down. Who didn't? Of course, Selena Gomez hopped onto the track and gave it a higher Billboard placement and absolutely nothing else, but you know, not everyone can be Ed Sheeran and Fireboy. Late last year, Late last year, at the recommendation of Fantano, I listened to his 2024 release, He Is. Yes, get it out now. I let a white man lead me to Rema like a horse to a stream. My shame is immeasurable. I'm not sure if this is presumptuous or not, but He Is to me, without a doubt, Rema's magnum opus. For some context, in 2023, about a year before he would drop He Is, Rema performed a sold-out concert in London's O2 Arena, where he rode on a giant bat structure thing and had a strange, imposing mask on his face. Nigerians, in their evergreen Nigerianness, accused the young artist of practicing Satanism. Note that before this, Rema's public persona wasn't utterly sanitized. He was still a fuckboy, but he was kind of a wonderkind. His Spotify bio as of today still calls him an Afro-wave prodigy, the kid who somehow managed to land his thumb on the pulse first try, West Africa's young, fair-faced hero. Critic Nathan Evans described Rema's persona on He Is as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Rogue. Something clicked, and Rema found a pocket too dark and self-assuredly villainous to reconcile with Rave and Roses, his last release. The album cover has his face obscured, skulking on— oh my god, why did I eat while recording this? I'm a moron. The album cover has his face obscured, skulking under bats, which I've never been, but as I understand it, adorn the skies of Benin City, Rema's place of origin. On this album, Rema finds himself flexing his way through the typical rap-adjacent checklist. He's gotten a hold of a cool car, he's a chronic dropper of bangers, if you will. He's stolen your girl and is now politely asking her to place her posterior on his pelvic region. But what's so significant about He Is isn't lyricism. I know it's strange for me not to obsess over lyrics, but you have to believe me when I say the sound is the true poetry here. There's the production, of course, equal parts villainous and mischievous. Rema incorporates Afrobeats in ways I hadn't really seen before, although let's be honest, I am whatever the exact opposite of an authority is on this genre. Like Travis Scott, the world Rema crafts with this sound is nocturnal, deadly, carefree. Instrumentally speaking, it's a fun house at night, and you can hear ominous laughter and revving car engines, but all you can catch are faint glimpses of light bouncing off mirrors. The rapidly descending synths on Macham add a playfulness to what is already a cutthroat beat. Frantic, imposing, bouncing horns loop on Ozeba and make me want to drop kick a toddler. Ozeba is an Edo word for trouble, and that's literally what this song sounds like. And don't even get me started on Rema's vocals. He's so animated and dynamic, and honestly, that's something he has over Travis Scott. The way he sings on Now I Know capstones an album of tomfoolery with a proper degree of tragedy. On the aforementioned Ozeba, he asks the phrase, "Rema, what is the matter?" in the most outlandishly South Nigerian intonation. I implore you to pause this video and go listen to that song. I'd bet money you'll spend the rest of the week walking around your house saying it over and over under your breath. The album is infectious, a vampire bat's teeth sunk fully into your brain. Yet, ironically, Rema very obviously wasn't a devil worshipper. The bat he rode on that infamous London concert was to rep his city, and the creepy mask was actually of ancient Nigerian legend Queen Idia. He was in London trying to protest the white man's housing of his people's artifacts. I, against my better judgment, am tossing Balogun. Occasionally, rarely of sound mind, and thoroughly underwhelming. But when I listen to He Is, I am speeding down Lagos at ungodly speeds in an ungodly car. Fluorescent lights zip by me on either side like shooting stars. I'm young, incredibly, terrifyingly influential. I try to use my power responsibly, creatively. The Ekwensu has stolen my people's history, and my people think I'm in the Illuminati. I'm laughing. What a joke. I press harder on the pedal. Where's my comb? I don't give a damn. It is 2008. A middle-aged divorced dad is sitting on his couch, his work tie loose around his neck, his hairy right arm laid at his side, loosely holding a TV remote. His face is illuminated by the television in front of him, but he's not watching anything. He's just switching through channels, endlessly, restlessly, not consuming anything longer than a few seconds, futilely in search of a dopamine hit. His brain is simply too fried to receive. He realizes he'll probably die here, on this couch, in front of this TV, never having found the thing to satiate his existential thirst. He doesn't know it yet, but 10 years from now, people will do exactly what he's doing, but on TV screens small enough to fit in their hands. They will call it doom scrolling, as if it's in any way new. The worlds we build are done so with the words, and the words we use are timestamps. They date us, they make us feel distinct even when we are not. One thing I think about a lot is how, in a lot of ways, Radiohead's OK Computer and Pink Floyd's The Wall are kind of about the same, or at least very similar ideas. Isolation, apathy, anxiety. I mean, both albums even have stunning indictments on the music and entertainment industry. What sets them apart, other than execution, The Wall is basically a Broadway show at some point, is the central metaphor they each use to tackle their themes. The Wall was born partly of the context Roger Waters spent his youth in. He lost his father in the Second World War and grew up staring at the cold shoulder of the world. The Berlin Wall stood tall, and rockstar fever was hitting new peaks. All the world's ills and lacerations masked by screaming fans. He grew up worried he'd be bombed into oblivion, and he became a man, made millions of dollars, scratched his name into the annals of art history, and yet that fear never left him. He grew coarse and cadaverous, and there was cacophony inward and outward, and he lashed out at his fans, going as far as reportedly spitting on them. And no matter how high into stardom he leapt, he couldn't, as Quadeca put it, figure out how to outrun himself. So he, or I guess the character of Pink, built a wall. Bricks made out of childhood trauma, out of women who, or whom, he could not bring himself to connect with, out of the words of teachers who didn't think he was worth a damn. And he threw out the outside influences, trying to isolate some imaginary core of himself. You listen to Goodbye Cruel World, and there's almost something charmingly quaint about its melancholy. You can imagine a man hanging his head out the window of a train headed out into the country, waving his cap, leaving his woes and afflictions behind. Of course, as we see on Is There Anybody Out There?, just 2 tracks later, it doesn't take Pink long to become a husk. That's the irony of turning your back to the world. Even when it's rotting, you're quite literally nothing without it. Judging from the 3 albums I've listened to, I can't imagine a time where Thom Yorke was like, alright. But there's something particular about OK Computer's unalrightness. As I said before, it tackles similar themes to The Wall. Sure, there's no fascistic transmutation in the second half, but the coldness, the apathy of modern day life resonates sympathetically across the 2 albums, like a guitar string responding to the pluck of its match on the other side of a room. The difference comes in the time. The Wall came out during the Cold War. Walls and propaganda and the last gasp of the world as they knew it loomed large. OK Computer came out in the late 90s, the birth of the digital age. Computers had snuck their way into that place television had in the 60s and 70s, where entire generations of people were growing up unable to imagine life without them. People were finding less and less reasons to see each other complexly, or hell, see each other at all. The time dictated the language, the people suffered all the same. No surprises, the biggest song on OK Computer is helplessly tragic, a weathered plea for a kind of catatonia. He sings about a heart that's full up like a landfill, a job that slowly kills you, bruises that won't heal. He's begging for a kind of peace and quiet. perhaps even the permanent kind. Fitter, Happier is a creepy spoken word interlude delivered by a computerized voice, not unlike the "It's all beautiful" declaration that closed out Jane Dawson's Pixel Bath. The voice here is effectually different though. Its tone is way darker, more ominous. The song almost reads like a prayer or someone's manifestation journal, shooting out pleas and fears. A safer car, no longer afraid of the dark. Self-employed, no chance of escape, still cries at a good film. No longer empty and frantic, fond but not in love. Fitter, happier, more productive. Tires that grip in the wet, keep in contact with old friends, no paranoia. All stated matter-of-factly in this dead-eyed staccato AI voice, layered over a stumbling, despondent piano passage. So if Noah Kahan builds a world you can find yourself in, and if Rema and Travis Scott build a world you'd like to imagine yourself in, what kind of worlds do albums like The Wall and OK Computer take you to? I'd argue it's not so much a where, but a when. These albums are still so relatable, yet they are almost impossible to take away from the time they were released. Stick Season is effectually timeless. The Wall needs to take place when it does. I'd argue purposefully so. We have modern equivalents. The aforementioned Pixel Bath, for example, That Funny Feeling, Sitting on the Hill. I could bring up Donald Glover's Because the Internet, but I won't. Today, the universal emotions Pink Floyd and Radiohead wrote about act as portals to different times. When I listen to The Wall, I see bricks reaching up into grey clouds. I see faceless entities in uniform marching. I see men with all the money and influence in the world hiding away like rats. For OK Computer, I see circuitry. I see old IBM computers and little fingers thumping on those keys. I see clerks under dim fluorescence performing the same bullshit tasks over and over. I see stomped butterfly wings pressed into asphalt. I see the so-called miracle of consciousness fail to reveal itself time and time again, like a broken web page. And yet, I see hope. I see, as I stand great distances from the important few, Roger Waters reminding me it's not easy banging your heart against some mad bugger's wall. And I see Tom York telling me in my labyrinth of wretched content, I hate that word, and infinite scroll wheels, idiot, slow down. Very manly. Also, for anyone wondering what's going on with my little wrist thing, your boy's kind of a badminton maestro. I'm not even gonna waste your time. I know why you're here. Let's talk about Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar. So, as we've established, Kahan took you to places through raw emotionality. Rema and Travis Scott did it through vibes. Pink/head metaphor. Dr. Dre and Lamar don't really need any of that. When you listen to 2001 and Good Kid, Mad City, make no fucking mistake, you are in Compton. Still Dre, not only one of the most iconic songs off of 2001, but probably one of the most iconic songs ever made, has a line I think about a lot. Haters say Dre fell off. How? My last album was The Chronic. Well, as I learned from Jackson Howard, my last album was The Chronic was kind of a lie. Yes, you see, in the early 90s, Dr. Dre did drop The Chronic, a seminal album in ways I won't even pretend to fully understand. The West Coast as a hip-hop institution is speared into the hearts and ears of listeners all around the world. Hip-hop and honestly, pop culture as a whole is never quite the same. And then, in 1996, at which point he was probably one of the most recognizable voices in music, he dropped Dr. Dre Presents The Aftermath, a collaboration album that the aforementioned Jackson Howard, whom I'm taking much of this background information from linked below, called Soulless. The album, as of the time of writing this, July 7th, 4:08 p.m. 2025, is still not even on Spotify. The people were, as far as I can tell, unimpressed. And so, not only did 2001 have to act as a comeback album, Dre seemed to have wanted it to be a sonic amnesia of sorts. Yeah, I dropped some ass, but come on, I'm Dr. Dre. Did it work? Well, it could be, and it most likely is. You're just smarter than me. But The Aftermath dropped in 96. I thought Dr. Dre only had 3 major releases until 2022. It helps that 2001 is such a powerful declaration of not just self, but place. Compton as Wonderland. You close your eyes and you're surrounded by scary looking men in baggy t-shirts. There's weed in the air, lowrider Chevys trying to touch the moon. In the corner, there's a short blonde man holding a knife to a gagged woman. Try not to worry about him too much. He's a little kooky, but he's good company. You look closer at the scary men, you realize some of them, most of them, are laughing. There's music playing, people playing cards, some dancing. There's a sense that in this place you're in, anything, literally anything can happen. I've only been once, but maybe that's the sound of the West Coast. 2001 in some ways isn't concerned with the past. It's concerned with rewriting the present. It is Compton. But as we'll learn, it's not all of Compton. In 2013, hip-hop underdog Kendrick Lamar Duckworth released Good Kid, Mad City. This was before Lamar was a household name, before he became cool. Many have noted he looked at the time like an elf or some kind of a mischievous imp. He wasn't decked out in designer clothes, nothing as cool as my Batman. My fault. He wasn't wearing garish multi-million-dollar diamond crowns or whatever. His artistry was still a bigger priority than his cult of personality. Good Kid, Mad City, for most of us, seemingly came out of nowhere. Out of no one. It tells the story of a young man, perhaps a Kendrick, with a ripped, yellowing mental picture of what it means to be a man. The album careens between gang violence, as seen on Mad City, turbulent romance, as seen on Poetic Justice, generational alcoholism, like we hear on Swimming Pools. And the longer you listen, the more you realize it's actually spiraling. In the center of the world is that young man, a boy really, staring at the unblinking, bloodied face of a light-skinned man whom he cannot bring himself to name the killer of, trying, maybe in vain, to define himself and his city when everything around him keeps revealing its arbitrariness, its unmiraculousness to him. That's the problem with men, you know? They continuously fail to define themselves distinctly from their surroundings. A kid born in the mountains will always seek those heights. A child of a farm will never lose his tether to the soil. A boy from a war zone can't not be a soldier. Yet Lamar did, and he did it without turning his back on Compton in all its love and all its terror. The album starts its conclusion on Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst with him meeting the ghosts of his past and realizing something has to give. Realizing that yes, all men are looking for something to fill that vacuity, chasing some truth to justify their next breath. But all men, regardless of where they hail from, get to choose for themselves what that thing is and how or if it connects with home. At the end, after Lamar has found himself, no, the sun! No, please! At the end, after Lamar has found himself, him and progenitor Dr. Dre celebrates Compton in perhaps the only way that city knows how. A bombastic, transcendent anthem. 2001 crafted the mythos of Compton. Good Kid, Mad City vindicated it. You hear that? Hear from me, y'all. Guilty! I was raised in the suburbs of Oyo State. I am perhaps the furthest thing from a young Lamar or Dr. Dre. But art, sometimes more than raw history or spoken accounts, help us, as John Green put it, imagine each other complexly. Good art, arresting art that grapples with what it means to be human, looks bigotry and ignorance dead in the eyes, and dares it to call it anything other than truth. 2001 and Good Kid, Mad City aren't concerned with abstract sonicscapes and melodramatic ideas of nostalgia and apathy. There is detail, richness, precision. Look around. Did you think I was lying? You are in Compton, California. I started this channel originally to promote my books. It wasn't supposed to become such an endeavor for me. My earlier video essays barely scratched 5 minutes. I often think about how much more effective I'd be in that original goal if I wrote about books or philosophy instead of music so much. That's how Daniel Green and Exerbia did it. I think perhaps the thing about music for me is that it's so immediate. Books, I love them, God I love them, require an active donation of self, a whole submersion. Patience sometimes. It's why they tend to struggle so much with our generation. Good music, even good long music like Mortal Man or Shine On You Crazy, are so concentrated in their medium and their requirements. You close your eyes and you are almost instantly on alone, almost instantly in the room with an artist who is trying to tell you something, take you somewhere. Kendrick and Dr. Dre and Pink Floyd and Radiohead and Travis Scott and Rema are doing more than just being the soundtrack to good times. They're being the soundtrack to lives. They are shared spaces for people to reside in. Isn't it a miracle that music exists? That of all the arbitrary coincidences that could have happened, that in the 14 billion years in which things have existed, randomly, on a tiny, insignificant blue planet, people are making sounds with their mouths and fingers, and those sounds consist of even tinier planets with even tinier people, and these tiny planets and tiny people can change or even define other slightly less tiny lives completely. That somewhere there might be a boy at 2 a.m. unsure if he's even being coherent, writing anxiously in some small way, defining his tiny life with these tiny sounds on this tiny planet in the tiny time he gets to be. I've said this before. I know Noah Kahan isn't the actual sound of America. I know there are more worlds and more interpretations of that world out there waiting for my ears. But in the words of Monrovia, where I am is all that's real. I got to see some family members for a while a few weeks ago. We went all around America, to the Midwest, to the East Coast, to the home of Elvis himself. On the various plane rides and sightseeings, I listened to a number of albums. Cruel Joke, My Teenage Dream Ended, Magic Alive, Something Beautiful, Addison. Let me tell you, the world didn't feel so tiny then. Music, and all great art, honestly, lies to us with the truth. We and the spaces we inhabit, the spaces we create, don't matter, of course. Yet, of course, they do. The sound of America is me leaving it, or at least the people for whom I am the result leaving it. When I had to say goodbye to my family, there was this particular moment between me and my dad. You see, he and I are pretty emotionally in tune for Nigerian men, but we are still nonetheless Nigerian men. There are a lot of things I'm sure we wish we could say to each other that we don't. I imagine he felt some type of way about leaving me in this country. I imagine he worries. I know I do. We're getting old, him and I, in different ways. And if I was a better man, I think I'd say to him something along the lines of those pivotal Noah Kahan lyrics I mentioned in the beginning. It's all okay. There's not a drop of bad blood. You've got all my love. We're done, right? Okay, now I have to record the other parts, but we're done for now. What's this? Tosin got a new haircut. Yeah, it cost $62, nigga. Now, let's imagine for some reason you have some kind of strange, esoteric mental illness, and now you want more. Good news for you. I have more stuff on my Patreon. Videos that you've never seen before. I have addendums to videos that you have seen. I have written pieces. You know what I'm saying? That's cool, that's hard. The chapter from my book that's on hold right now, but will eventually be out. Is the first chapter is available on Patreon. You can go check it on Patreon. It's great. And speaking of books, they're also not on Patreon, but they're available on Amazon. Link below. The ebook version of them is like $4. You can afford $4. And if you can't, I'm really sorry. That was very insensitive of me. I apologize. I think that's all I have. Okay. Good night. I'm gonna go make chicken stew now. I am hungry. Hey, the white man.